So, welcome back to another quick little update of our PyGam Jam 2021. I think the most activity has come from you, Aaron. So maybe we'll hand over to you and you can fire it up and take us through some of the changes that we've seen today.
Cool. So not a lot in terms of code changed from last night, but in terms of starting to pull assets together and stuff. So Paul and I have been working on more of the actual stage, the level. So now you can see, I'll just get him out of the way. You can see we actually have little enemy AI. So they've all started walking together. The little enemy AI with their life above them, so you can see how much life they have. We've started developing or putting in the some asset placeholders for the current weapon, the ammo. So if we start shooting, you'll see the ammo starting to drop down. I'll just drop in range. Now they can actually shoot, and bang, I'm dead. So we've got a respawn. Currently starting with 3 lives. We can respawn. We're down to 2 lives. They actually got me just as I respawned, so I've got 70% health. Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting some of the more interactive game elements sorted before we start building out the actual level and scrolling through the level and actually setting objectives. At this stage, if I was to respawn and kill all the enemies, there's no way of winning at the moment. So there's no you've won, because we haven't actually set any level objectives. So next 2 things to do will be building out the level and then setting the collectibles, so all the things we need to collect to finish the level. And then that's pretty much most of the game mechanic done. It'll just be taking Matt's sprites and starting to swap out all the sprites. Obviously, we don't want all the enemies to be the same as our little Western Defender. Probably different sprites if we've got time for different types of enemies. What else have we got? And music, obviously adding the music in.
Yeah, we need to. So the backgrounds, the mountains, the sky, and the pine trees there are just some ones that we borrowed from another repository from an example that we're following. I think, Matt, you had a couple of backgrounds. Like, how similar are they?
Quite similar. Do these ones are these just like one flat surface, or are they parallaxed on top of each other?
At the moment, they're just one flat surface that's put on top. So probably if you were to look in that folder, let me just quickly open that up again. I think it's like assets backgrounds, and you just put your files over the top of them. They would start working. So
okay, cool.
Is that something you were able to like chuck in there now with the 2 that you've got, and then we'll push it up? Aaron can pull that down and have a look.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I don't think they're gonna be that long, so they're just gonna be like short at the moment, right? Like, so I need to make them repeat. So I kind of need the edges to join. I need to do a little bit of magic for that.
Yep.
So I could have a look at that now. Let me see.
One of the other things that we added to the game was, like at the moment, there's effectively only like 2 weapons in the game. So the enemies have a laser, and the laser has a specific damage attribute. And Western Warrior has a shotgun, and that also has a damage attribute. So I adjusted the code and put the ability to like alter the damage that a weapon can have in the code as well. And for the background, all I did was basically layer those images as the background, so it is not yet following Western Harrier as we move around. So it's pretty static at the moment, but it still looks like, you know, much better than yesterday. So yeah, that's it.
There's Aaron, your damage. There's your damage for the enemy. This is the laser, obviously. And then where are we? We've got player. Where's player? Here we go. Player has a shotgun, and the shotgun's damage just does 25. It was doing 50, but I dropped it down while I was testing just to give me a couple more shots before they die.
Yeah, the restart. Yep.
Yeah, and because I hadn't touched the code for a few days, and we only sort of working on this after work. It was confusing thinking of all these numbers that I'm passing in, so I made sure I named my parameters as I passed them in, and that's simply there just so that I can remember, like when I'm looking back at the code, what does that actually mean?
You know,
So that's just for readability.
That's actually something that I like about Python. Like I'm learning Python as we go, like as I'm going through and building stuff out. Like in the blog yesterday, I discussed how the package structure works. I'm used to different languages, how they work, and how you can't traverse the tree of packages in the same way in Python. But actually, that you called out there is one thing that I do like about Python, is that you can provide the actual variable name and the value. So you can actually see what it exactly, it's more readable, see what it means. We know it's damage, we know it's cooldown.
Yeah, you can have optional arguments, and by using that, by leveraging the named parameters as you're passing into a method, that's how you work with like optional arguments that are being passed in. But even if they're not optional, in this they're not optional. It was just hard for me to read the code.
So this images one I added so that we can provide the actual that little when we were playing before. I'll just quickly jump to the skip one. This image here is actually stored on the image class. So I added that so that when we cycle through images, it'll change here. But that I actually added as you were saying, as an optional parameter. So that's optional because there's going to be no image for the aliens' weapons, but they still use the same weapon class.
Okay, so the way that HUD works is it looks at the player to look at the active weapon, and because you can traverse all the way down and figure out what to display as the active weapon in that yellow box.
Yeah, so we're actually looking at, so in the HUD, we want to hand the weapon in from the player, so it just gets the weapons and the current selected weapon, and then it hands that off to the HUD. So whatever the current selected weapon is, it looks at the ammo, it looks at the image. I think that's all we've got at the moment. If we need anything else that's stored on the weapon, we can pull it in the HUD. And then the other two are it's hooking up a lives variable and a health variable from the player. And obviously it has to be in the update so that every time it redraws, every time there's a change to the player's lives or health, it'll update on the HUD as well.
Yep. Yeah. Before we hand over to Matt to have a look at some of the artwork that he's doing, I will just say that for whatever reason, Python 3.8.8 on my machine became progressively slower to launch into the game, and the game itself would run fine, but getting to this single player screen was taking that load screen was taking a really long time to occur. I'm not really sure what caused it. I couldn't see something when I looked at the processes that were running that was happening. But I used PyEnv. I switched the PyEnv to 396, removed the virtual environment and reset it up, reinstalled the requirements, and it came good again. I'm not sure exactly what it was.
If it's something like this, we're actually doing an import on all globals. So globals here, all we actually need on this screen especially, which is the initial screen, is clock, FPS, game running. That's it from the globals. So it could be that, because we've actually done this on a few screens. Instead of just calling in the individual globals we need, we're actually calling them all in, and then I might go through the code and make sure that we're only calling the variables that I don't know enough about how Python works in terms of loading everything up, but I can only assume that if we're loading all from globals, that's going to be pulling everything into memory, and we may not need that. So let me go through. While Matt's maybe doing on screen what he's doing, I'll go through and start removing that and see if that has an effect on the load.
Yeah, it could be something like that. It's really weird. It seems something specific to my machine. Like after I reboot, it just takes a long time to start up. After that, it works fine. It seems to work just fine. But yeah. So Matt, did you have something that you were going to show us?
Yeah, I'll very quickly show my progress. I haven't actually made too much progress because I was only on work calls until pretty much now, so I'm a bit knackered. Let me share my screen. So one of the things that I was doing earlier this week was effectively trying to make some level thumbs. So let me just jump in. Here they are. So this is an example of one of the level thumbs. And the idea was like we could use this as we built out the tiles, like we know what colors to use. So this was kind of like a nighttime desert scene. You can see a couple of houses on the hills and all of that. And then I had this alternate, which is kind of the same view, but daytime. So we could have a daytime level. So the idea was like I could pick some colors from this and we could make the tiles themselves using like this kind of like color palette. But we could also use these for potential loading screens. Now, I don't know what the resolution is of the loading screens that have been put in as placeholder. So I'm just going to go back and have a look at the assets folder where the code sits. So let's have a look. So I'm assuming it's these buttons. So I'm just going to go to that folder and I'll drag it into a sprite. So give me 2 seconds. Skip those. I just want all 4 of the files in. Okay, so the resolution of this one looks like it's 300 by 248, whereas the thumbs that we've got are 280 by 160. So they're a little bit of difference in size, but the good thing is I think they're actually smaller. So what I could do is I could save this as level 2 maybe and see what we can... Yep.
That tile is just from the loading screen. Is that supposed to be the loading screen? Ah, cool.
Yeah, this was going to be like the loading screen, and then we might have like just an overlay later of the actual level on top. Cool. So the idea was like we could use these temporarily as the loading screens. They're not the same as like there is parallaxing happening somewhat to the backgrounds. So what I might do is I might move these to the tablet actually, because the tablet isn't going to like blow everyone's mind with the length of it. Let's go arrangements, and it's probably breaking screen sharing, but I'll get that fixed in a second. And I'll drag that down here, and let me try and find where we are. So I'll drag stream up, stop my share, and then I'll go to the tablet screen so I can kind of show you guys what I'm talking about. So here we go. There we go. So in a sprite, what we might do is I might actually export this and save on top of the folder that Aaron's put these in. So let me have a think. Where did I hide that stuff? This is iCloud. This is what I want. So if I go into assets, sprites, button, let's call this one button 2. Let's save on top. Let's export this one as button 1. So I'll save on top of that one as well. So if I save those there and I give the game a quick run, should be able to see those in the level screens. They might look a bit out of whack with the level 3 and 4, so I might have to create some art for that. Just waiting for PyGam game to start up here. Yeah, here we go. So yeah, there we go. So we can see that the level tiles are in. And so I can pick between the first one or the second one, and then it loads into the level itself. Now, what I'll have to do to get the next piece working is, like, you've got the sky in one layer, right, for the background. Then you've got the pine trees in the foreground, the pine trees in the distance, and the mountain at the very back. So when you put all those together, I might relaunch the game actually to show this. I'll need to break up the artworks and also make them repeat so they can keep going. Like as the level gets longer, we can just keep like stamping the background images together. So yeah, here we go. can see we've got a bit of an alignment issue as well. Oh no, it's just the ground surface is like halfway up. So as I go along, like the way that these patterns have been made is the mountains actually blend into each other. So like this mountain corner will actually blend into here. So when I go back to the artwork, like one thing that I'll have to do is join this mountain up to here, and I'll have to export the individual layers. So like if we wanted to put in like the sky, I probably need to remove the gradient if we're going to use this for level, because I'm not going to be able to tile the gradient in that way on the other side, unless I do some like fancy flip stitching in Photoshop. So anyways, I've got a bit planned ahead of me, but like maybe hopefully I can show you guys tomorrow. Me and Paul will actually be out very late tomorrow with work. I think we're working till 8:30. So I've basically only got like the next 2 hours to get as much done as I can on the art, because I probably won't be able to touch it tomorrow until 8:30 again.
So yeah, I guess that's our update for the night. As we said, Matt and I got an extra community activity tomorrow, so we might come on, but we might just come on just to see what Aaron has worked through tomorrow night as well. So yeah, thanks everyone. And Alex was here; he was listening the whole time. He's sitting next to me doing still some Python coding and been listening and tuning in. But he was keen to jump on tonight as well. So, yep. Thanks everyone. Thanks Matt and Aaron for the catch up, and take care. And we'll see you all tomorrow.
Thanks everyone. Bye.
See you. Thanks everyone.